brakes fail on a vehicle, there's nothing to prevent an impending disaster. Fractured relationships, affairs, broken marriages, abortions, STDs, pornography, addictions, debts, eating disorders. I hear so many heartbreaking stories from women racked up in messy, difficult situations. And often it's because they've had some sort of brake failure in their lives. Unlike the crash of the school kids in the bus, however, the crashes in our lives generally aren't caused by a one-time big brake failure. More often, they're a result of a series of small failures along the way, when we fail to put on the brakes in the little things. A relationship just doesn't grow cold overnight. It happens gradually. The couple fails to put on the brakes with their attitudes, with their words, their actions, and hundreds of small, seemingly insignificant failures accumulate to sour the relationship and make it ugly. And often the couple can't even identify where it was that they got off track. A woman doesn't just wake up in one morning and decide, I think I'll have an affair today. No. The affair happens when day after day she fails to put on the brakes with her thoughts and her fantasies and sexual boundaries. And it's only after she's made a wreck of her life that she asks herself, what was I thinking? Have you ever gotten yourself into a predicament and afterwards asked, what was I thinking? Well, the problem was you weren't thinking, or at least you weren't thinking correctly. Self-control flies out of the window when we put our brains in park and we let our emotions drive us around. The prerequisite for right living is right thinking, sound thinking that's based on sound doctrine. And sometimes we focus too much on trying to change the behavior when we don't think about what the thinking is that caused that behavior in the first place. We need to stop and go back and find out and explore that thinking. It'll be very helpful to enable us to address the behavior. It's much easier to fix the what if we understand the why. Why did you lash out at your mother? Well, because she made a cutting, sarcastic comment. No. What happened is that the situation revealed your unsound thinking. You think you have the right to retaliate for past hurts and return tit for tat. You do not have a sophron state of mind. Why did you scream at your child? Well, because he drew a mural on the wall with a permanent marker. No. What happened is the situation revealed your unsound thinking. You think life should be easy. You blame fatigue and stress for your overreaction. You blame your child for the way you react to him. You do not have a sophron state of mind. Why did you blow your budget and buy yet another pair of shoes? Well, because they were so cute and they were on sale, 60% off, and they were calling my name. No, what happened is that the situation revealed your unsound thinking. You feel discontent, entitled, and you think that indulging is better than holding out. You do not have a sophron state of mind. Do you see how wrong thinking leads to wrong behavior? Your behavior would have probably been a lot different in those situations if you had just taken a moment to correct your thinking with the truth of the Word of God. Just a moment to check if your thinking was right. Someone says something that aggravates you. If you have a sophron state of mind, you might have Ephesians 4:29 on the tip of your tongue. Let no unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. If that was on my mind, my reaction would likely be quite different. Gaining self-control isn't easy. It's a lifelong pursuit, but thankfully, God hasn't left us to acquire it by sheer willpower or determination. As Paul makes clear in Titus, a sophron mindset is initiated, produced, and enabled by God's Spirit and His grace. For the grace of God has appeared, bringing salvation to all people, training us to renounce ungodliness and worldly passions, and to live self-controlled, upright, and godly lives in the present age. Aren't you glad that this directive to develop self-control is wrapped up in an abundance of grace? I am. I have difficulty resisting temptation. So do you. Sometimes we start and we just can't put the brakes on. We just can't put the brakes on with our behavior. Well, this directive to develop self-control isn't a stick to beat you over the head and to make you feel guilty and to make you feel condemned for your failures. You know what this is? This is a promise. A beautiful promise that the grace of God is sufficient, and the grace of God trains us, and the grace of God teaches us. I don't need to develop more self-control. I need more of Jesus. I need to lean into Him and experience the fullness of His grace in my life, to think the way that He thinks, to be in His Word, to have a sophron mind. And the promise is that the fruit of the Spirit is self-control, and that He has given us everything that we need for life and godliness through Jesus. The brakes on my mountain bike were worn, but I didn't have time to get them replaced before we left for the mountains. Biking up and down steep hills, taking in the spectacular view and the fresh mountain air of the Canadian Rockies is something my husband and I love to do each summer. The brakes weren't much of an issue when I was riding on pavement. I just had to squeeze a little bit harder to make my bike slow down. But when we went off-road down a backcountry mountain trail, I really started to notice the deficiency. I hardly need to tell you what happened. You can see it coming. My brakes weren't strong enough, and I ended up going faster and faster, and I lost control of my bike and smashed into a tree. The front of my bike took the brunt of the impact. I flew over the handlebars, narrowly missed hitting the tree with my head. And it took a long time for all those scrapes and bruises to heal. I have a scar on my leg to this day. How foolish of me to think that I could safely navigate that trail without properly functioning brakes. Ladies, some of you are living with bumps and bruises and scars because of the brake failures in your life. The good news is that the grace of God will come and flood your spirit, and the grace of God will help you live a self-controlled life. It helps you put the brakes on so that you can say yes to the good and no to the bad. Without sophron, I bet you can't. But with sophron, I bet you can.